The militia tanks and armored vehicles that paraded through the streets of Raqqa on Tuesday marked the symbolic demise of ISIS rule in the Syrian city where militants had established their de facto capital. Fighters from the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, held a victory parade of sorts in Raqqa's central Paradise Square, a space that for 3 years looked more like hell, as it was where ISIS carried out public beheadings. "This is a historic victory, not only for us, but the entire world," said Jayhan Ahmed of the SDF. Raqqa may have fallen, and the militants may control just a fraction of the territory they did in their heyday, but by no means is ISIS defeated in either Syria or Iraq. The group's ideology lives on. At its peak in 2014, the self-proclaimed Islamic State ruled over approximately 9 million people across Syria and Iraq, equal to the entire country of Jordan. The group collected taxes and oil revenues and provided local services, but it also doled out punishment to men who did not keep their beards the right length or women who dressed immodestly. The extremists caught the world's attention after videos began to appear online showing prisoners in orange jumpsuits being brutally killed, often by beheading. After the militants stormed into Mosul and took over, the West decided it was time to act. The United States formed a coalition, which includes Canada, that has launched unrelenting airstrikes against ISIS positions across Syria and Iraq. Russia joined the fray. Iraqi and Syrian government forces took aim at ISIS as well in a battle that has also involved other regional players, including Turkey and Iran. In an audio message released by militants in September, ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi accused the Americans of using scorched earth tactics in its campaign against his group, saying U.S. forces had burned the people, trees and everything on the ground. Baghdadi ultimately ignored the severe territorial losses suffered by his group, instead making indirect references to recent attacks in Barcelona and London's subway that his organization had claimed responsibility for. Now the Americans, the Russians and the Europeans are living in terror in their countries, fearing the strikes of the Mujahideen, al-Baghdadi is purported to have said. This seems to be a signal that ISIS, with its territorial conquests having largely been reversed, will revert to the tactics of a brutal insurgency that made the world sit up and take notice 3 years ago. ISIS militants continue to have the ability to launch suicide bomb attacks in Baghdad and Damascus, with devastating results. Meanwhile, regional branches of the group continue to carry out attacks in Libya and Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. ISIS will likely be pushed out of its remaining desert hideouts and the small urban centers it controls in a swath of land that straddles the Syrian and Iraqi border, and it could happen within weeks, some analysts predict. But defeating its ideology will be much harder. Many of the conditions that led to the formation of the Islamic State remain today. Syria's civil war shows no sign of ending.